brought up this topic, very relevant, supply chain management in new gen startups. So this is the overall agenda. The storyline I would try to cover is that why SCM is important for startup, what startups face as a challenge when it comes to supply chain, what are the proven tricks and tips. It's nothing mumbo jumbo. There is foundational theoretical knowledge where supply chain has been utilized very much by bigger organizations, by big corporates, by big companies who have been into the business for say 100 years. They have perfected their supply chain with time and again. What can we learn from them when it comes to startups, so that startups don't lose out the time in reinventing the wheel, so to say? Okay. And then how can we leverage the current technology? Because a lot of technological changes are happening. What I had seen 10 years back, nothing is same. Technology is moving at an exponential pace. And the reason it is moving at an exponential pace, because it is able to give the business value. The companies are realizing, if they can intervene, if they can move on a digital transformation, if they can implement technological upgrades into their supply chain, they are seeing better result. The ROI is pretty quick. And they are the two keywords of improving efficiency and optimizing the cost are always in the supply chain discussion. How can we do that? So we will also look into some use cases where technology has been utilized, how localization is helpful, because we are speaking about startups, about the new gen startups, and how we can make self reliant India. And then what is our uh, implementation process? What is the playbook, so to say? How can a startup, just tomorrow, if somebody thinks that I'm going to start a startup of some physical items, how can I just step by step go ahead and see the minimum challenges? What should be those main checklist items? So this is the overall storyline I would follow. Anything else, maybe we can have a discussion later on as we go ahead. So starting up, the next here is, what is our rising role of startup? We see that there are so many um, startups rising. The reason is that there is a partial government push, and also you must have been seeing, because you are in academy, you are meeting young people who are not so much interested, those which has been done in 50, 60 years back, that I will go and join some job which is like, every day, I'll do the same thing over and over again. The youth is also beaming up with bright ideas. The Shark Tanks have been I mean, Shark Tank has been one of the most viewed TV series, which is unthinkable from where we came like 30 years back. Shark Tank wouldn't have been such a even to the smallest villages, people are watching Shark Tanks, and they are feeling that energy, that yes, if I can do something, because I have the power of internet, I have the local people along with me, I have the local knowledge about any particular topic. Why not I start something and make money of my own, instead of moving to. So we have been hearing so many success stories in terms of uh, from all the four corners of the world, of India, be it in the northeast, be it from north in Jammu Kashmir. There are small startups that are growing up. They are even targeting crores of revenue. But along with this, if we cannot fix their value chain, so there is always a possibility of a startup failure. We also been hearing that startup failure story. So overall, we have lot of startups, and then lot of startups are also coming up. It has started, the journey is on, and they are I mean, contribution to the GDP is almost 4%, and it would be growing. That's the least I can say. And they will be having multiple supply chain problems. when it comes to delivering the right product. And we all have faced few supply chain challenges. I'm sure you will relate that we had ordered few items, and we didn't get in the correct time. We had ordered few items, we received damaged, and then some items was ordered that didn't arrive in my location. It went and got delivered in some separate location. All these are different challenges. Sometimes you had paid for an item, and then you get a notification that this item is not no longer there, and your money is reimbursed. So these are all supply chain problems. The basic line of supply chain is getting the right product to the right customer at the right time. So there are a lot of rights to be ticked, you know. So, and that's where the startups are also facing the pinch. uh, when it comes to delivering, they might be having a great product, they might be having a fantastic reviewed product, but they are not able to scale, they are not able to get it to the right customer, they are not able to cash on um, the sales because they are stocked out, they do not have the right delivery partners. S- all such problems we'll go and discuss more. Yes. Now, what, for a layman, for somebody, if you catch up in the street and say, what do you think by supply chain? So for the majority will say it's like, there is a logistic partner, something is manufactured in somewhere, there is a logistic partner, and then there is an end customer. It's a very layman, it's not incorrect, but it's very simple, stripped down format, where which you can explain it to 1 year, I mean, standard one. But what supply chain is a complex process, and supply chain is the only function where people will have to step out and see to the ground that what is the pulse, why is the manufacturer not able to manufacture, why is this supplier not my right supplier, because they might be not be able to give you the approved quality. You have a beautiful design, but if for example, there are multiple fashion brands. I'm sure everyone goes and buys clothes, but you will have some favorite brands because the textile, the cloth of whatever you are buying, the apparel is a bit better. If we are, Indians are very cost conscious, they want to pay least, but they want to get the best of quality. Okay. So it's very difficult. Now think from the business's perspective, they have to lower the cost, so they might be compromising on quality. But to what extent that they are compromising on quality, that they are losing sales? We have seen many such fashion brands that initially they had very good cloth material, and then the cloth material went bad, and we don't buy them anymore. We say no, it's fine, I like the designs, but the cloth is not what I would prefer. In that same money, I would go to another company which offers me better design, better. So these are all small issues. Again, this is just one part. Then we have the retail chains. I would like to want, even in a tier 3 place, I would like to want my designer dress to be delivered to my home. I want, for example, the best quality um, lighting item for my house to be delivered to my home. This was unreachable to the consumers. Earlier, the customers were ready to pay. There were few customers, very niche customers, who were ready to pay, but they didn't have it within their local, electrician shops. Those fancy lighting stuff, for example, a lamp which is very fancy and probably costs like a lakh, or furnitures, for say, for example, we had to look into our local carpenters who could make one, okay, not so good, but not never on trend. So people wants to buy, people especially of our generation wants to buy trendy products, whatever is going on in the major cities, in the foreign markets. We want to incorporate those design changes into our home. We are ready to upgrade to different stuff, and it's a difficult pressure. So all these has to be delivered to our customers. I remember the day when I used e-commerce for the first time. It was for getting a book. It was called Infibeam. I don't know if you have utilized that platform. It was pre Flipkart era. Amazon was certainly not there. uh, I used to get books because I used to love reading books. Books was inaccessible. I had to, travel a lot to get good books. Infibeam, I used to get the books. Versus now, um, you get furnitures delivered by Amazon. I mean, what a tremendous generation we are living, that um it's not far that you can even order one car, I mean, house, and you will be getting delivered. Okay, this is your keys to the house. So nothing is impossible these days. So few years down the line, how it's going to get changed, you have no idea. And that's what we should be bracing for, and startups are there to bring those impossible ideas into place. And that's why they should need the supply chain to be in proper order. They should do a few steps, in order to see that they are moving to the growth phase, and they are not becoming a failure story. They should not be into that 0 to 1 stage and then they fail, because most startups do well in 0 to 1 phase. It is that 1 to 100 growth phase that they face this uh, challenges in terms of money, and the root cause in terms of supply chain. They are not able to do multiple things, and that's where they bleed the money. Then there are other, of course, culture and all those things are there. But what differentiates Flipkart from any other? Infibeam did not survive, but Flipkart, see, it has become such a big company because it got its supply chain right. What are the proven insights for startups? So this is a framework. If you see it in the right hand side, this is a framework that Gartner has came up with. So we have in the supply chain consists, the entire supply value chain consists of suppliers, manufacturers, finished good, distribution and logistics, which is warehouse, inventory and fulfillment, customers. And there are various ways that they interact with these stakeholders, so to say. They have sensing, they have responding, and there is a supply and demand, very good divide in supply chain. What is called as a supply is the suppliers, the manufacturers, and the finished products wherever they are stored. And the demand is on the other hand. So how can we integrate all the data? Because a lot of data is flowing in. For example, if one item is ordered, that item might be coming from a supplier or a manufacturer own manufactured product, and then it might be sitting in a DC, and then it might be taken up by some delivery partner to a local store, and then from a local store to a customer. So a lot of touch points are happening, lot of data are moving here and there to get an entire sense of this entire supply chain value chain. uh, we need to get together big blocks, and all these big blocks should talk to each other. It's never a silo. So that's where the important SCM insight is. Everything should speak to each other, to make the best sense, to make it more predictive rather than supply chain. So once the ship, we have heard in 2020, we were not we all have seen those images from US where the shelves were completely empty. There was no toilet paper. There was a bulk buying, and then suddenly all the manufacturers of toilet paper started producing early, and then there were a lot of toilet paper sitting on the shelf not being sold. So ability to understand for the companies that what is why is there a sudden surge of buying. Does that equal to sudden increase in the manufacture, or is it just a one off event? We need to fix other things in order um, to have our products being sold at the right place. So all this information, all these knowledges are very important, and that's why it takes a supply chain specialist. It's nothing mumbo jumbo, but one needs to introspect, one needs to look through the data and see how to make a meaningful insight out of it, so that your supply chain is resilient. For the startups, resilience is the key word, because they need to design their supply chain to withstand disruption. They, for example, we have heard multiple we might have experienced that we have ordered from a small company some item, and that small company could not deliver it on the right time, because they are not resilient. They did not have good not anticipation, good planning rather, that they will be a surge of requirement, surge of their products. Flexibility, efficiency is a very important topic. How flexible it is and how efficient. Getting medicines on time is more important than getting that furniture on time. So we need to understand basis the product, what is more important and what is less important, in terms of efficiency, in terms of flexibility. Okay. Data analytics is again, I reiterated that every touch point it has, there is a data that is feeding in, coming out, and if we can see into the data and make a complete story out of it. So that's the power of data analytics. That's why the digital transformation is important, the dashboard to see everything end to end. Control tower concept has come up because of all these things. And once you have all these things in place, a startup can strategically do its risk hedging. They know that what is a calculated risk, it's nothing a surprising for them. As more and more information, data points that they are having, and they have a resilient, they can reduce this risk. And by reducing the risk, what will they do? They will improve their resource allocation in terms of money, in terms of manpower, in terms of all the resources. Because startup, imagine startup is either a bootstrapped. What do we hear once it comes to startup? It's either bootstrapped, so they are already short on money, or they have been funded by some VCs. So they are also tracking where every penny is going and where every dime is going. Is this a required step? So they are very short on resources compared to established, you know, public companies, where they can put money and they can fail, and they will learn the insights, but they are ready to put money to fail also. So there is some budgeted allocation, and they know that this money may not be giving the ROI, but will no wonder we can do it. Example like Unilever, it's a behemoth. They do multiple um, experimentation in terms of supply chain. They fail in most of the cases, but they learn from there and then they implement. And once, if something goes very nice, they are ready to scale. That's what differentiates them from, startups. Scalability is also that story. Network optimization, again, a very core supply chain knowledge, that how your distribution network, how do you have your efficient distribution networks with minimal cost, and getting the right product at the right time, and all those details, right? So these are the insights that the supply chain, from the supply chain end, that the startups should be knowing, must be taking care of, have some compatibility amongst those different suppliers. So the suppliers are sending out the products, but the startup does not even know how much quantity is coming out, how what are the different specs of it, where is it originating from, where is it going to go, how are we optimizing on those movement. So all these things, if that intent is there, there are products that can help and build that entire data analytics viewpoint. Life cycle of a startup, we all have heard about, like, garage to unicorns. Be it Amazon, be it Flipkart, they all started in a small garage and then they have become unicorn. But in this entire, it's a very simplistic process. If you see from garage to unicorn, it shows very simple, but there is a lot of work that goes into, especially in this stage where it is planning to move from 1 to 100. That's called the growth phase, or the 1 to 100 phase, where um, you are expanding at a very rapid rate. Recently, in fact, in my role, I came across one of the Indian startups. They are they are growing at a 40% month on month rate. And they have millions of SKU. It's again an e-commerce platform for a niche area, but they have 40% growth. They are utilizing millions. The biggest problem is that what do they do with unsold products? They cannot throw it out, they cannot make it scrap. It's a huge amount of money, it's a huge volume to speak of, and it's lot of unsold inventory sitting in their warehouses. How can they have, imagine, they are not having the visibility of millions of product which is unsold. And this is where the money burns, this is where the VC's money burns, this is where the growth machine stops being a growth machine and becomes, a pot of money burning machine. So, in a life cycle of a startup, the idea and prototyping falls more or less into the garage phase. Supplier onboarding, the initial suppliers that they had worked, is also on the. But when this decision making comes, whether it has to be in house or outsource, these decisions comes more when you are moving on to a growth phase, and when the unicorns. When they are targeting to be a unicorn, they need to get their books clean. They need to have transparency and accountability of where the money is flowing in which areas. They don't know. So the books has to be clean, then only they can hit IPO. Otherwise, we all have also heard that, there has been a grand hype of IPO, and then the investors felt that, the shareholders felt that, yeah, it's not delivering. Their the overall market value of that unicorn, not unicorn, or that startup has fallen post the IPO. We all have heard those stories. Why is it like that? Because they have not taken care of putting the fundamentals in place, right? And then finally, the scaling of the operation. This is the core of what the growth machine, unless and until they can scale, it is as good as, I have a brilliant idea, I deliver. So that startup is more of a boutique. They cannot think of moving not only in India but also capturing global clients and global um, buyers. So we have heard a lot of stories that from India there are many startups that are going and doing business in different geographical locations, for example Africa, other countries of Asia, in Europe, in US as well. So this is only possible when you have your processes very much streamlined, you know how to scale. It's just a matter of time and money to scale, but you know that the profits will be keep coming in if you have the right things in place. Yeah. Overall, one starts small for any startup. It is a small, but as the SCM grows, as your vision grows, the supply chain should be also able to scale along with your vision. Yeah. Next, what are the key challenges in SCM? Within the startups, the startups are juggling. So the startup founder is actually wearing many hats. He probably have worked in a startup. The startup CEO is going and giving a marketing interview to your story. He is also sitting and looking into the sales and operation meeting, SNOP meeting, as to what is the demand forecasting, how much has been the sales. He's also going and sitting and speaking to the VCs and trying to get how can we get funds. He's also breaking his head, why is the delivery partner not coming on the right time. he so he or she is wearing multiple hats, juggling multiple balls, and it's very easy because it's cash trap. They cannot hire big talents, or right, I would not say right, but they cannot hire talents so many, because they are cash strapped, they are either bootstrap, they are either VC. They have to make do with those many people. And there is always, what is the outcome? The outcome, there is a possibility that one of the balls might fall. So today, the delivery partner, the logistic partner is not on time. It's a huge lost sales. But the startup founder cannot do anything, because he or she has to juggle other things. So lot of challenges are faced. I have seen myself firsthand in a startup, that how all these things, impact the brand value, impact your cash flow, impact your vision, your growth story. So limited capital is always, that goes with the startup, that you have limited capital. That was the first thing. Whenever a person walking into a startup environment will realize that we do not have the money. That's always a constant say. The moment you suggest we can have this sort of application, this sort of the first thing they'll say, we do not have the money, we cannot implement big ERPs, we cannot have the industry leads, because they might charge this much for an hour. So all the always that underlying story is that we have to make do with limited capital. It is very difficult, that pressure is always on. And that's where I think Indians DNA comes out. You have to always make do with jugaad. Ke if we can do it in a much optimized way, and very good things come out. I'm not saying please don't take it on a negative way. The Indians have been able to do it in such resource optimized. It's a lesson to the world, that we can achieve this sort of efficiency with such small. It's something to be celebrated, it's something to be inculcated also by the others, that I do not need a fancy chair or a fancy table with the right temperature, with the right aircon. You will find many such startups in small corners, working from the attic, working from the garages, and delivering amazing products. They're scaling up very nicely, because they have got all the things right. So limited capital, uncertain demand, they do not have big good industry proven market leader applications where they can put their demands. And then there is a very typical case of not all the products could be planned and forecasted. Say for example, CPG or FMCG products have a very good visibility, that if Maggie packets are sold at what rate from every store, you will be able to get that. Go to any mom and pop store and ask how many Maggie packets are you selling. So they will be able to tell that. But imagine there are startups in the space field also in India. How do they understand the demand? How do they predict that, forecast that demand? The space startups in Bangalore, there are many things that needs to get right. And they might be looking up to ISRO to do a joint venture. But then suddenly there is some, due to some reasons out of their control, that doesn't plan on. The startups have put in lot of money, lot of effort, lot of talent into building some prototype. And because of that decision that it is not going to happen, that collaboration with with ISRO, or say for example any space big organization is not happening, it's it's walking probably towards failure, because they could not get the mm, right understanding as to, okay, what is our plan B. We have employed all our resources into creating some prototype, into looking forward, and then what do we do about it? It's not going through. What is our plan B? They do not have, and that's where they fail. Vendor reliability, single source of, because in the initial days none of the suppliers will, you have to really go and beg, please, I'm trying to develop this product, would you want to be our supplier? Once you have the volume clout, there will be suppliers lining up into your door, but until then it is mostly single source, and there is a challenge in terms of quality, in terms of predictability, that your vendor will be always prioritizing your work or not. So these are the challenges that the startups usually would face. How do you build a resilient supply chain, the startup especially? Traditional supply chain has got, that develop, plan, source, make, this entire value stream, whether they want to develop how they are going to develop a product, and then planning, sourcing the product, or they want to make it in house, and how it would be delivered, and once it is delivered, give the customer support as well. But these days it is more of an interconnected, that everyone should be speaking data point wise. All the data points should be feeding into a something called a control tower in a digital core, so that it is monitored. You get a real time, pulse of how your factory is also producing. If there is a strike in a factory, if the factory has some exigencies, and it's not able to produce your products, you are going to have missed sales, you are going to have missed deadlines. How do you take care of that? And you might be penalized even for that as well. There are so many startups working with FMCGs to provide, uh, some one of their components. There are many startups that are OEM suppliers to the big automotive products, automotive companies. If there is some issue of non availability of some material, how do they take care? Because there is penalty clauses. If they are not able to deliver it on time, they will be giving penalty. So having a digitally, a single screen, that okay, these are my major data points, I'm seeing that my production unit is not working properly, or I have delivered few products which are not quality compliant, I'm expecting a lot of after sales, um, you know increase in touch points. After sales services have to be pushed in. We need few people to, help the customers and see that our product, they have a good experience. Even though the product might be faulty, still we don't lose the customers for lifetime. So all these efforts require the data points to be fed in into a common platform. We usually call that as a supply chain control tower. And in order to build this resiliency into the entire supply chain, efficiency, agility, and sustainability, these are the three pillars. That, because these days you might be also seeing, and I think we started believing that, if there are same product is being manufactured by one company, and the other company manufactures, but however puts some sustainability pointers, like they have manufactured this using renewable energy or using solar. We have a natural tendency that we would try to, sponsor or prefer the product that is coming out from a sustainable packaging, sustainability. uh, we all have seen that amazon is not a startup at all, but then I'm just taking the example because earlier Amazon, for a small soap also, they give this big box. But specifically in the metro cities, what they have done is that they are uh, doing away with carton boxes. They are saying it is a bare bone packaging. So the already packaged is there. There is only a sticker on top of that with of the Amazon. It's not packed in a big box, because that's a wastage. And I'm sure Amazon is has seen lot of ROI because of this. Because the customer seems to be okay with it. I as a customer, I'm okay if it is not put it in a big box. I have ordered a piece of soap, or I have ordered one, two packets of chips. I don't want it to be boxed in a big big carton box. What would I do with it? It increases your even supply chain cost, your delivery cost, because in a truck you can take up so much of a volume of cartons. So the moment the cartons are done away with, you have more products to be and that can be delivered in a single run, in a single milk run. Okay, so these are all the details that the resilience, how it can imbibe with. I want to take a stop and see, how is it is do you want anything, any questions so far? If no, good. Great then. Design supply chain design framework. So balance, it's a rope tight rope walk, a balance between how you want to see flexibility and efficiency. If the startup needs to be highly flexible, highly or highly efficient, or they want to have one sweet spot, that they're okay to let go a little bit of a flexibility, but they need to be bang on efficiency. So all these decision guides are very important for, because once the startups understands that where it needs to put itself, it can design, it can have its supply chain strategy about it. So for example, I was mentioning a startup focusing on medicines will have a very different supply chain strategy than a startup which is focusing on furnitures. Will have a very different strategy versus a startup which is focusing on uh, EV products. So every startup has a different, like every individual is different, every startup has a different pathway, their supply chain strategy is a different pathway, but then we can learn a lot from each other. Technology, I think technology is becoming more and more inevitable. We cannot, sit and write. In a startup, people are using thousands of Google, because they are working with a restricted capital, with a limited capital. I have seen startups which do not have even Microsoft Outlook, which do not have Excel files. They are working on multiple Google Sheets. They are working on their Gmail. Imagine how will they able to scale up. At some point, the founder, or the CTO needs to call out that yes, this is our cutover, now we are going to move on, we are going to invest in digital transformation, we are going to implement it. It can be as basic as buying Microsoft licenses. Imagine your life, you all are working in education sector, and you have so many emails. Imagine you are working majorly in Gmails, how inconvenient it is. And that Gmails might be, some may even utilize their own personal Gmails into working. Imagine how messy it is, how untrackable it is. And when that companies will move on to that growth phase, do you think that it would be easier for them to uh, suddenly move away from utilizing? So the initial intent, that technology has to be there. We will invest small, but invest in regular upgrades in technology, so that we can scale when the time comes, when the money comes, when we have the vision, we have the right ingredients in place. So technology is very important. And AI, ML, IoT, blockchain, these are revolutionizing uh, the supply chain. You can read it online, you can see YouTube videos. I'll just bring up one use case which I am currently working for one of the big retail. So they are not able to get wha- so the problem statement that they are facing is that once the goods are into their distribution centers or warehouse and they find out that product is damaged, they are not able to understand that who is to pay for the damage. Is the supplier or the manufacturer has created a faulty product, or if the damage is because of the transport partner, and they should penalize the transport partner because they are not transporting it into the right SOPs. They are not putting enough bubble wraps and all those things. So but they are realizing it pretty late into while they are putting the products into the shelf. They are realizing, okay, this product is broken, this is unsellable, it's a lost, it's a lost good, it's a lost opportunity. So whom to blame? The the company is bleeding money, but they do not know who is the exact party whom that blame should go to, or who should be penalized, or how should they deal with this lost sale. Should they go back to the suppliers and say that you have not done a good quality product, or they should go to the delivery partner and say that you have not delivered it in the right format, or they cannot, or they don't know whether to go to the distribution centers and say that the pickup truck that has been the forklift that is picking up my pallet, they have not put it in the right way. The forklift arms have gone inside my pallet and damaged my product, so you are to be penalized for that. What's the solution? Computer vision. So, utilizing camera feeds and immediately figuring out the moment it is entering the DC gates, the camera feed is able to utilize an AI algorithm and say that this box, this pallet has got 60% of damage. And they immediately find it out. Okay, this damage is this and then they do the root cause analysis. So, technology is, and overall, when we did this business case, we saw that it is like 125 million euro of damaged products that the company has to pay from their pocket because they don't know who that problem to ascribe to and what steps that could be taken, right? So these are the things. How can we leverage automation? Robotic process automation, warehouse robotics, chatbots for customer order tracking. Why chatbots? Because chatbots are available 24 bar 7. You do not have to put two or three people and take their order, and sometimes there is language barrier. The the customer service person is not able to understand what exactly it's being. So we have seen Swiggy initially had a customer service personnel speaking. Now they have integrated chatbots. So if they see that this is within their list of problems, they can immediately resolve it without even uh, increasing the workload of the customer service. And by this way, Swiggy must have reduced its headcount of the customer service a lot because they have implemented the chatbots. I want to show you a small video on warehouse robotics. It's also available in YouTube. Go to Brightpick and you'll see. Imagine, and this is an entire warehouse, and only a single person is sitting. Imagine the overhead cost is so low, and there is also an efficiency. You can run this plant 20 this warehouse 24 bar 7. If you are more interested, go see Amazon lights out warehouses, entire robotics. These are industrial robotics. They are picking, they are packing, there are packing robotics, they are picking robots who can go. And just imagine, this is the single guy who is sitting here and managing this entire warehouse facility. It's a revolution, and this is what is already being implemented. It's nothing like a concept. So called people have implemented, they are seeing benefits out of it. I think next we'll go on to the sustainable supply chain. Startups needs to focus on sustainability also. many at many places you'll hear that sustainability is an additional cost, it does not give an ROI, but you cannot imagine the the brand value, you cannot imagine uh, how the customers will pick it up. This is again a startup. It's called Blue Tokai. It's very much present in the tier 1 cities. It's a chain of um, coffee shops. They also have their own coffee packages. It's a competitor sort of to Starbucks. And see how they have uh, highlighted that this packaging is easier to recycle. Any day, if somebody is thinking of buying either a sustainable product, or this company would immediately tick that part, that okay, this the Blue Tokai company is providing an easy recyclable, I would rather prefer the, this company than any other who is giving bulky packaged plastic packaging and all those things. Similarly, there are companies which are targeting the FMCGs. So this company Circla, it's again a small startup. uh, what they are creating is that they are creating sustainable alternative to plastic coffee capsules. So this is recyclable, compostable material. And in foreign countries, that people do have, even it has come up in India, there is a coffee machine where you have to put a coffee capsule, and this is usually in plastic. This is usually a tin, plastic covered with a tin backing. If this can be changed to sustainability, this is a great USP. And probably big companies such as, you might be hearing that big companies might be coming out this sustainability options, and people are ready to pay that extra amount, in terms of whenever there is a sustainability angle, people are ready to pay that extra, because everybody is thinking about the next steps. In terms of, we have been hearing so much of pollution overall and all those problems. So whatever steps we can take individually, people are ready to take to make the world a little bit better place. And that's good for the businesses, that's good for the startups, because they it's not something fancy, it's just not something, just a marketing down the line that might improve their sales. This might be their USP. Yeah. Now, uh, how so this story majorly speaks on how the startups can create sort of an ecosystem. If one startup is growing, how it can, create other startups, or create that environment that other people are also growing when they do a indigenous sourcing. A very good example is that probably 7 years back, 10 years back, we did not have EV two wheelers, but now we are seeing Ola has come up with EV two wheelers. We have seen Ather, and there are a lot of others in line already coming up with EV. So this has grown, this probably has given rise to many homegrown automotive OEM suppliers also for the EV market. And that's the beauty of the indigenous sourcing, because the whenever you are sourcing local, you are saving a lot in terms of the transportation cost, in terms of unreliability. Because the further you go when you are sourcing, there is always that aspect of unreliability. We have seen that in 2020, that the ships are stranded midway. They Because the countries have closed down, there are no people to uh, in the import export port of entries. The ships are stranded in some mid ocean. There is orders, but it is not being taken inside the country. So if we have that internal network of indigenous sourcing, and this is especially true for India, because if we have to make a self reliant India, we have to grow as an ecosystem. A single Startup becoming a unicorn is just not the end of it. It needs to also grow other startups as well along with itself, so that together we can create that entire ecosystem. And that's where all the people, all the youth will also come together and work together. And this would in turn be having a faster turnaround time, because the distance is not great. The distance is lowered whenever we have an indigenous or localized sourcing. We have low cost, we have the government support as well. Multiple um, governments, like the state governments, are apart from the central governments, the state governments also have these SEZs, and they are also trying to boost the local economy by giving multiple schemes, by introducing multiple schemes in terms of atmanirbhar, in terms of self reliant, in terms of other things as well. Yeah, we have we all Zomato is one of the great success stories. The problem was, in India, how can we manage hyperlocal deliveries at scale? Hyperlocal delivery is one thing. We could give a call to somebody, that person can uh, we have had, when we were growing up, we have had those shops where you could just give a call and they would deliver some product to the place. But then it was one one such shop, one such grocery shop, or one such kirana shop. But with Zomato coming in, with Swiggy coming in, they are managing hyperlocal deliveries at scale. And this has resulted so many job opportunities also. And this is being possible because technology was at place. They have the logistic planning in place, they have the strong backend in terms of IT backend, in terms of talent backend, that they can create all these things. So Zomato launches hyperlocal delivery and to leverage. So imagine they have 3 lakh delivery partners, 3 lakh people who are utilizing their platform. And if they can utilize in a better way, not only for just for food delivery purpose, but also for the other hyperlocal purpose, it is a better utilization. And it's a win-win solution, because it's a better utilization of their platform. And it also means that the delivery people are getting more money at the end of the day. Yeah. Why uh the so here we would be focusing on why early investment for a startup, because we are always considering as a startup. For a for a startup, early investment into digital transformation, into supply chain management, keeping that entire value chain very strong, resilient, those early investments are so important, because you will see that earlier investment will give an earlier ROI. So if you invest in your supply chain early, by what does that mean? By investing in supply chain, by finding multiple reliable s- suppliers, by having a good um, end-to-end scalable integrations of IT systems, by having the right visibility of the customer feedbacks, all these together, by also having a right partner with the 3PL logistics, all these contribute to the supply chain investment into the supply chain. And this in turn helps to manage your inventory cost, to manage your working capital, because startups again have the capital as a constraint. That's the constant problem, that capital is a constraint. So the optimized inventory is always the lookout. They do not want to have stockouts, they do not want to have unsold inventory sitting in their warehouses. So a perfect balance is what they should aspire to. And this is where the cost gets involved, the inventory, in the logistics, and in the tech. But if we put in the early interventions, the return is also pretty early. We we have seen in a startup, if they have the right intent and they go it small technological upgrades and investments into their supply chain. Say for example, a big established automotive partner, if they are building their OEM networks with good IT integrations, those small startups who are the OEM manufacturers, they are also benefiting. They have a better outlook into what is going downstream. They can manage their risks into unknown demands better. They can plan better, they can have their cash utilized in a much better way, and they can value and they can deliver valued products, right? What do the common mistakes that the startups make? If you see here, uh, again, we will tie back that in the initial phase it is probably a single supplier. So the single supplier, when should the startup start making multiple suppliers, multiple connection dependent, those suppliers you can depend upon, and have that intent that at one day I am going to scale. And in order to scale, what intervention should I be taking it at this point of time? I might want to have a big ERP such as SAP down the line, but I do not have the means and figures at this point of time to introduce SAP as my ERP system. But what can I do that whenever I have the means to have SAP, what can I do that the integration is very seamless? How can I keep my IT systems very um, you know s- compatible friendly, and have right processes, have right SOPs, have right documentations, so that whenever there is that integration, it's not a difficult journey, it's seamless. And the moment the ERP is there, the benefits are immediate. Okay, I have sourced this picture from Shiprocket, again and another 3PL delivery partner. So it's more of a platform that offers, that's an aggregator of delivery 3PL delivery partners. So what they say is, from the supply chain end, they have a difficulty in product sourcing, inventory management, all these return orders. They don't know how to we love COD orders, cash on delivery orders. And for the business, this is a big risk, because you are sending out the product without realizing the money. And we have heard so many small, if you look into Instagram, so many small businesses suffer because they are sending out the product with the hope that they will get the money. But instead, what they're getting a return of their product. Sometimes it is in such a damaged condition that they cannot even pay, they cannot even resell. And then this entire to and fro movement of its product is taking up money, which the customer is not paying because they have not bought that product. So these problem bleed money for the new startups, for the businesses, and that hampers their growth. So having proper visibility and keeping right balance between when to allow a COD order, what are the how much credit line that you are going to give to your bargain to from your suppliers, what is your account receivables, how you are going to plan your entire crediting, is very important, and it's very relevant for the new age startups. Yeah. How can we simplify this? It's very basic. First, focus on the core competencies. What are the core competency? The primary focus should be, over in a thumb rule, 40% you should operational model should look like that you have your 40% of the focus onto the core competencies, and then you can get the rest of them outsourced to other 3PL warehousing, the logistics and all those things. But whatever you are good at, one should focus in a startup ecosystem? If it is an e-commerce startup, if it is a there are various kinds. If it is a food business, QSR, quick service sort of business, startup is looking for. If it is a pharmaceutical, if it is, we have, name any, we have so many sort of startups. But the how to the SCM system is in itself quite complex. How to simplify? We need to focus on the core competency. SCM landscape, the major problem in India is we have a very high population density. We have very hyper local supply chains. And that's where probably the opportunity lies also. The problem is, wherever there is a problem, there is also an opportunity. So if we can tap on to that opportunity of hyper local, of um, strategic importance, have a base in a tier 1 city, and then do some sort of hub and spoke model, leverage government schemes and all. If you see that India's population density versus hyper local, so if you see Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, these are all the mm, very densely populated tier 1 cities. And imagine the hyper local opportunities also. So where there is a problem, there has to be a solution, and that is where the startups can do a disruption and improve the quality of the customers. And that's where they can win market share of the market share, and win the customers. That um, in for example, in big cities such as Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Kolkata, people do not often have time to even fix, say, for example, do the plumbing work. The kitchen sink has broken down. They do not know uh, how to fix it. We do not know where the plumber is. Urban Company is a startup which aggregates all those plumber. You can, it charges quite premium, but then the job is done. I do not need to depend on giving a call to our local plumber and then think when he is going to come. Is it now, is it tomorrow, is it today? You don't know what the charges are. Here they have utilized this pain point and created something like an Urban Company, where you can book a plumber. They will come and help you out. They will charge whatever is coming out in the application. They will charge that. So these are the startup ideas, and this is what it is sticking. Digital transformation, again, it's very similar to the early intervention of supply chain. Digital transformation is very important. Scalability is because in the growth phase you have to very much focus on the scalability. And when it comes to scalability, it has to be IT related. It has to be, the digital transformation should fit all the boxes, and not, no, do- there is no point increasing desks for newer people if those people are not able to see your supply chain end to end. So this would set any startup to a bigger competitive advantage if they do an early intervention in terms of digital transformation, which includes supply chain investments also. How strong is your SCM? This is, big FMCGs, big companies have something called a supply chain management KPI dashboard, where they can monitor the big KPIs that makes decision making. If the cost, how is the cost breakup happening? How is my procurement happening? What are the top 5 suppliers whom I am working with? How, which areas is giving me the biggest sales? So if you have all the big data points in one sheet, because in an supply and operations meeting, these big details are utilized to take a decision. Do we step into a new geography? Do we expand into a new geography? Do we know, will we get the right suppliers into that, localized supplies into that area? Many people might have a problem to expanding to northeast areas, because they may be hesitant. they may not know that whether if there is a right supplier for them or not. So this is stopping. But if they find a right supplier in northeast and they can integrate into their IT system, and they can see for sure that okay, even the performance matrix of that supplier is reflected in my dashboard, I am comfortable as a startup owner that okay, I know that I can tackle that geography. My products can reach that geography because I have a trusted partner as a supplier. If I have a demand search, will I be able to do that? So all these checklist questions are very important whenever one is taking a decision. The startup founders are taking a decision in terms. Now, the important part: what is the professor's role here? I think it's very important that supply chain is a problem. All there are always pain points in if you go ask big companies like Ford, if you go ask big companies like Unilever, if you go ask big companies like in India Maruti, go ask Reliance Industries, all of them will have some or the other pain points. They can choose to invest, they can choose to invest and fail, but when it comes to the startups, they that failure might be the end of their story. So if the professors can help and come up and do some sort of collaboration in terms of have the symposium, have conferences, take the students and do a little bit of root cause analysis. If this is the problem, how can we do it with their knowledge? Because many a times in the startup, it's a fight or a flight mode. It's majorly fight or a flight mode. The people are working in day in and day out, like today what sales has to be made. There is no thought for tomorrow. But here comes, if the professors come with that strong academia background, do a little bit of soul searching with the startup processes and say that this is the part where it has the problem, have it for more from a third eye perspective, that this foundation is shaky, you should be investing more into having the quality people rightly trained, or having some amount of lean six sigma implemented in your shop floor. So this inputs, this knowledge input will always help a startup, and this is where the strong, because mm, it's difficult to implement when you are inside the system. But when a professor comes from his position of deep expertise of the knowledge and suggest, they do the role of that consultant. And we have already startups who are providing this opportunities of hands on. So industry academia hands on is very much important. We have seen that there is a Flipkart supply chain academy, which goes on with the courses, which gives hands on training to the youth about the supply chain, warehousing, about inventories and all those things. But if it is clubbed with a strong foundational good academia knowledge, I think it's a recipe of success. We will build a stronger resilient India for sure. Not even a youth, it is India for sure. So this is where the professor's big role comes up into guiding the startups with proper research frameworks, because many a times the people who are sitting in the supply chain do not have the time to go and look through research papers to see where in other country did they face the similar problem and what was the solution adopted. It might be very simple solution, but nobody had come up and given that idea that you do not need to reinvent your wheel. This problem was already faced by and here is that research paper we can jointly implement. I few students can go and take those basic research datas, and it can work with the industry together to see immediate ROI benefits. It's very easy to calculate a supply chain ROI benefits. for sure. What is the playbook? As it's almost, I'm nearing to the end. So what is the playbook? Start simple. When we talk about startups and their SEM, start simple, but always have the intent of scalability, that one day I will have the money, I will have people to scale it. I should not be working in Google Sheets. I should be able to integrate my data, which is proprietary data, mind you, my data into bigger ERPs. I should be able to have create a entire environment of my trusted suppliers. I should be able to even improve the life of my suppliers and my upstream partners. Because if that ecosystem would be there, the immediate translation is you are going to grab more customers. It will be a success story. The quality would improve, the consumers would be buying your products versus your competitors products. Invest in digital transformation, foster that reliability. Also, another proven method is that there are startups who are working in a particular domain, and then there are established people. Take for example that if but Maruti is such an established automotive player, and then there are other startups coming up in EV, in luxury, travel and all those things. So if those automotive companies can mentor the startups along with the accelerator program, where that this accelerator program can be happening in a college campus, in an academia environment, where they can speak of their problem statements. The input of the academia is also coming. The proven way of a established firm is also there, they can participate, and the benefit is to the startups. So this is an entire ecosystem environment where everyone will Im- improve their knowledge, um, in this sort of discussions, in this sort of partnerships. Yeah. So overall, this is what I had to offer. I hope you liked, and I want to close with a supply chain stalwart, David Simchilevi, is that when you can't grow a startup without you can't grow a startup without growing your supply chain. Your supply chain is the heart and soul. It's the heart that is beating, and the brain is mother money, but the heart that is beating of a startup is their supply chain. And I'm focusing more on supply chain which provide physical goods, because IT startups are a little bit different. The nature is more of a business to business, B2B, rather than B2C. B2C is more plagued with the supply chain problems than IT sort of startups. So supply chain is very important one, and industry academia collaboration is needed a lot into creating this harmonious and resilient India. Thank you.